Hello again, and welcome back to Lessons from the Table, wearing the exact same shirt as last episode. Today, I want to talk about something a little bit different, something that I personally learned as time went by. And I have a bit of a differing opinion to the conventional wisdom about this. This is regarding solutions to problems presented to the players in game. So first of all, I think it's important to talk about what the conventional wisdom is. And I think there is a lot of merit to this. I'm going to go more into it a little bit later on in this episode, but right off the bat, if you go to most places online where people discuss DMing and how to DM, what they'll often say is give your players problems. Don't give them solutions. Or rather, don't think of solutions. Let them think of them for you. Or at the very least, give them problems that have multiple possible solutions. What it's really all boiling down to is don't give your players a problem with only a single solution, especially if that solution is very, very specific. Because, well, if they don't get it, they're just going to sit there for ages wondering what the hell to do, and it's not fun. Play slows down, it breaks down, and suddenly no one's enjoying themselves anymore. I have a slightly different opinion. I think for the most part that's true, but I think there are times where single solutions are okay. Because let's be real, some puzzles do have a single specific solution. They have a way out. What is really meant is don't let there be only one way to reach the solution. I think that's what's really being said there. Here's an example. I say recently, this is actually months ago now, I had a trick door in one particular part of my last campaign. It was a mirror. And when you walked up, your own reflection blocked you. The way it worked is you had to be polite and say, please, you first, or something like that. And then your reflection would go, no, I insist, after you, and step out of the way, and then you could go through the threshold. One of my players got through it by casting darkness, and then there was no reflection, and they were able to just walk through the open door, right? That was a solution that worked. Like, it made sense to me. If the thing that's blocking you is your reflection, then somehow removing the reflection, in this case by blocking light, well, I don't see why that shouldn't work, right? And I let that happen. I let them go through. There was no one way to reach that solution. What can happen, though, is some DMs will go, no, that doesn't work. And they'll come up with a reason as to why it doesn't work. They'll be sitting there thinking, no, the solution is you've got to tell your reflection after you. And that's when they respond by saying, no, you first. You've got to be polite. And a lot of DMs, I think, fall into that trap. So you can even create something with a bit of an intended solution, but if the players come up with an unintended one, let them do it. If you come up with something that's only got one intended solution, that can be problematic. But not always. Here's the thing, I was fully prepared for my players to sit there for a while and only just finally figure out how to get through that door. Why? Because it was kind of a fun door, right? First player to finally figure that out, to tell their reflection, no, I insist. You first. When their reflection steps aside and goes, no, after you, the table would have burst out laughing. Now, unless this went on egregiously long, the payoff would have all been there. It would have been good. It would have been perfectly fine for the only one solution to exist. Now, here's what you need to do. If you've got something that's only got one solution, this is how you ensure that the game doesn't break down at that point because it takes too long for your players to think of it. Especially when it is something a bit weird and off the wall, like telling your reflection to go through past you. That doesn't make any sense, so why would a player think of it? Well, find some way to give them a hint. Maybe the reflection makes some particular movement. Maybe if they talk, their reflection actually says something back. That gives them the idea that they can have a dialogue with their reflection. You role play as their reflection. Let them figure it out through a conversation. Don't just give it away necessarily, but the longer it takes, the more heavy-handed your clues can become. Hell, if you really want, maybe there's an NPC with the party that knows how this door works, and they just sort of sit back and muse for about 15 minutes, and then finally when the party doesn't seem to get it, they go, hold on. Walk up, and as they're approaching their reflection, go, you first. And the reflection goes, after you. the players will still laugh. There's still payoff. Even though they didn't even solve the puzzle themselves, they actually still tried it. And what they'll do is they'll go, oh man, I didn't even realize we could think about puzzles in that way. And they'll think a bit more creatively at the next one. They don't feel like they've been robbed of an achievement because the achievement wasn't actually solving the puzzle. Well, I say achievement. Yeah, there is achievement. Reward is a better term because the reward wasn't solving the puzzle. The reward was getting a laugh out of this gimmick door, right? If you've got a serious door that's got a particular kind of solution, yeah, well, then you do need to make sure that there isn't just one weirdly specific way to solve your puzzle. Now, I think what really needs to be addressed here, and I said it right at the start, when people are saying don't have a puzzle that has only one solution, they're talking about the process. If there is a door that needs one specific key to unlock, well, it needs one specific key to unlock it, right? But here's the thing. If the key is suspended over a chasm and you've got, someone with a spell that could duplicate that key, and then a Forge Domain Cleric who could transmutate some coins into that key, and they can make a copy of the key without having to do the thing that would require them to jump over the chasm and grab the key and yada, yada, yada. Let them have that key. Don't say no. That's a good solution. That is clever. That is players using the abilities of their characters, often ones that maybe don't get a ton of use anyways, right? And they're solving a puzzle with that. That's great. Do not, under any circumstances, enforce the one track to success. If your players can find a different way to fulfill the win condition of the puzzle, the success condition, let them do it. Don't say, you create an image of the key, but before you can transmutate it from the image, it disappears. Don't come up with some magic bullshit just to make it harder for them to enforce your solution, because all that's going to happen is your players are going to come up with stuff and then they're going to stop trying because they obviously can't think of what the correct thing is to do and none of their other solutions have worked, and then they're having a bad time. If that happens at your table, that's your fault as the DM. That's not a blame that I like to lay very often, but in this situation I think it's fair. If you've designed a puzzle and you're enforcing the one solution you have thought of, you're a bad DM. Don't do that. That just harms the player experience. And the point of the game is for everyone to have a good time. It's not for you to have the players grind to a halt and sit there for an hour in your living room not enjoying themselves. What a waste of time. There's enough things that they could be doing. They're already willing to put about 4 hours or whatever of their day aside to come and do this thing. Don't waste that time. Much as you expect them to not waste your time by actually listening and paying attention to the game. If they're sitting there and paying attention to the game and there's no game happening because you're shutting down their solutions, that's not good. That's why people say don't have puzzles with only one solution. You can take this all one step further though. What I do sometimes, genuinely, is I just come up with problems. I don't have solutions at all. I don't even think of the one solution, right? Sometimes I just present a situation to the party. There's a river, it's flowing rapidly. How are you going to cross it? Let them figure it out. I haven't sat there and gone, okay, well, they'll need to, make an investigation check to find some half-rotted logs, and they'll need to find a way to reinforce it, and they can lash that together over the stream. If one of your players goes, we're in a wooded area, are there any trees that maybe look like they could be cut down or have already fallen down? I'd go, make an investigation check, yada, yada, yada. Oh, yeah, you find some logs. Yeah, cool. Or even better yet, maybe there's no investigation check. You go, yeah, you've seen a couple of fallen down logs. They look a little bit rotted. Maybe wouldn't support someone's weight. But that's going to get their gears turning, right? They're going to go, wouldn't support their weight, but maybe we can find a way to make them stronger. Maybe this will still work. I'll just need to change this thing and this thing and this thing. Let the player do the work, man. Let them give you a solution and just ease it along. When they come to you going, oh, what about this thing? Could this work? Unless it really obviously can't, hey, let it happen. If they are nowhere near a forest and they say, are there any trees? You say, unfortunately not. That's not enforcing a single solution. That's just being realistic. The player, if they're going to use an environmental solution, you're going to have to find a different part of the environment to interact with. But they will do that. Like I said, the gears are turning. They're like, okay, well, there's no trees. Maybe there's something else we could use here that's going to achieve the same goal. How deep is the river? Oh, it's about yay deep. Okay, are there any rocks big enough that they look like they could protrude out if I threw them in there? Oh, yeah, there's a couple. Let them work it out. Just give them a problem. Don't even think of a solution, because often when we think of a solution, we get a bit stuck on it, and we're less willing to embrace the other, sometimes more creative solutions that our players think up. Now, what's equally important here is that you don't give players unsolvable puzzles because you haven't thought of a solution. Make sure that they can cross the river, and that if they can't, it's not going to be the end of play. Like, well, you guys can't cross the river, tough nuts. Maybe they just have to walk an extra day to the nearest town that's got a bridge. It's a solution. It's going to take a bit of time. It's going to have other consequences, surely, but at least the fun doesn't stop there, right? At least it's not, well, we've got no way of crossing rivers. We can't complete that quest now. So, solutions to puzzles, it's a very sticky area. And I think sometimes DMs get a little caught up on trap and puzzle design. You don't always have to design some complex puzzle where, you've got to move around colored glass to bounce light off walls and create a certain color hitting a certain colored gem. You can do that, and that's cool. Those sorts of puzzles are really cool, but puzzle also means cross a fast-flowing river, or grab the key to the door that's, suspended 90 feet above a bottomless pit. Both of those things are puzzles in equal measure. And that's another thing I think a lot of DMs tend to forget. Puzzles really are just problems that you put in front of your players. And that means when they start solving them, you should let them solve the problems. That's what they're there to do. You, the DM, are there to provide problems for the players to solve. That includes combat. Combat's a problem that needs to be solved. Your job as the DM is not to provide the solution. Your job as the DM is not to kill the monsters that you put in front of the party. That's the party's job, very obviously so. No one ever needs to be taught that. We understand that very tacitly and implicitly. That understanding often doesn't seem to translate to other problems that you can put in front of the players. But, well, there they are. I had a really interesting experience. This is a long time ago now. This is one of the first games I ever played in. We were high up in the mountains. We needed to cross a ravine on a rope bridge. One of the characters in our party was a Warforged. This is in one of our first few sessions. This Warforged weighed like a literal ton, and this is a rickety old bridge. And my character remarked out loud, we're going to need to find a way to get this character over that bridge. That bridge is never going to support a ton of bronze and wood. DM hadn't thought of that. DM hadn't even intended that to be a problem. But he sat back and watched us come up with a solution. Sometimes the players will even come up with the problems for you. The players are the ones playing the game. You just build it for them. You interact, don't get me wrong, and my goodness, if you don't enjoy doing that, well, maybe DMing isn't the right thing for you, but that's kind of the experience of DMing, is you build it, they break it down, or fix it, or however this analogy plays out. But that's that for this Lessons from the Table. So thank you very much for watching, and have some great games. See you next time.